Welcome back to the Archive Network. Aurelius here, with Malik, curators of the Civilization Archive. We left Han civilization last time at the structural consequences of these crises were profound. Today we pick up where we left off. As the Han civilization reached its twilight, an unsettling atmosphere began to grip the empire. The once orderly streets of Chang'an and Luoyang felt crowded and restless. Commerce thrived, yet whispers of corruption and famine circulated through the air. This juxtaposition of vibrancy and unease was a telling sign of the fractures beneath the surface.
You paint a vivid picture, Aurelius. But let's not overlook the human cost underlying that unease. Those bustling markets mask deeper societal issues. The cracks in the empire weren't just about politics. They were about people struggling to survive. The political elite may have been preoccupied with power, but the common folk felt the real weight of these crises.
You're correct about the populace. However, the grandeur of imperial palaces masked a world brimming with intrigue and betrayal. The rise of palace eunuchs, those men who once performed humble duties, became a stark symbol of this instability. Their cunning manipulation of power and succession serves as a reminder that authority can shift in an instant, revealing how easily trust can be shattered. We see this play out time and again throughout history, don't we?
That's true, but these eunuchs weren't merely pawns. They were players in a ruthless game. They controlled access to the throne, while child emperors became mere figures with little real power. This disconnect between the rulers and the ruled created an environment ripe for dissent. Governance became a matter of court politics rather than the welfare of the people.
And yet, this situation was not entirely unprecedented. Throughout history, we've seen that empires often succumb to power struggles at the court. These conflicts consistently overshadow the true needs of the empire. It's a familiar pattern. Look at the Han Dynasty. Their once efficient bureaucracy began to unravel, weighed down by corruption and incompetence. As leaders bickered for control, the core of the state weakened, leaving the empire vulnerable to outside threats and internal decay.
Yes, but we have to shine a light on what that corruption really cost the people. As government revenues dwindled, smallholders found themselves under mounting pressure. Large landowners took advantage of the chaos, pushing countless families off their land. It wasn't just an economic crisis. It was a human tragedy. Families were torn apart, communities were shattered, and the core of society was fraying. We can't overlook the personal stories behind those statistics.
Economic woes compounded the instability in ways that were hard to ignore. Natural disasters wreaked havoc, with floods and droughts decimating harvests. Grain prices soared to dizzying heights. As the Han's agricultural system faltered, we saw communities struggling to feed themselves. Starvation loomed, and desperation took root. The people, caught in the crossfire of nature's wrath and governmental failure, faced a grim reality. This is the cycle of history where the mighty can quickly become vulnerable.
That's the crux of the matter. The suffering endured by the peasantry led to desperation and uprisings that couldn't be ignored. Take the Yellow Turban Rebellion of 184 CE, for example. Hundreds of thousands of people rose up, inspired by leaders who claimed divine guidance. They were fighting for something simple yet profound: equality and justice. Those yellow headscarves they wore became more than just a fashion statement. They turned into a powerful symbol of resistance against the oppression they face daily.
And yet, as you note, the government's response was uneven at best. In some regions, we witnessed brutal crackdowns that left communities shattered, while in others, chaos reigned supreme. The imperial finances were drained in futile attempts to suppress this rebellion. We see how revolts can chip away at even the mightiest states, exposing their vulnerabilities and revealing the cracks in their facade. History teaches us that unrest can lead to consequences far beyond the immediate turmoil.
Aurelius, this wasn't just a case of suppressing a rebellion. It was about the empire's very survival. The military, which had once stood as the backbone of Han's strength, started to become a serious liability. Generals began to disregard the central authority, carving out their own power bases. You could see the human cost of this fragmentation everywhere. Families were torn apart, communities destabilized, all because of imperial neglect that left so many people feeling abandoned and powerless.
You make a valid point. The military's increasing autonomy truly symbolized the crumbling authority of the Han Dynasty. As we saw, the once secure frontiers became vulnerable, plagued by relentless incursions from nomadic groups. These borders, which were meant to protect the empire, now posed serious threats. It's a stark reminder that as empires expand, they often sow the seeds of their own decline, reflecting a deeper crisis within that can't be ignored.
And as if that weren't enough, epidemics swept through the land like a dark cloud. Families lost loved ones, and the population plummeted due to disease and famine. Communities that were once full of life found themselves struggling to keep their traditions alive amidst the chaos. The loss of communal rituals wasn't just a change in habit. It marked a profound fracture in society, revealing just how deeply interconnected these issues were, and how much was at stake for each person.
By the early 3rd century CE, the Han Emperor had become little more than a figurehead. His decrees were often ignored beyond the palace walls, a clear sign of waning authority. When the last Han ruler abdicated in 220 CE, it marked the end of a once mighty order. This slow dissolution of power teaches us a stark lesson. Empires often crumble from within, eroded by their own excesses, neglect, and the very people they once ruled.
That's where we leave it this time. Han civilization continues. The story isn't finished yet. Find the full series on the Civilization Archive, part of the Archive Network. We'll be back with the next chapter.